Hello, and welcome to Contractor Outlook Newscast from the coffee shops. My name is Heidi Ellsworth, and we are here today to talk about what everybody's talking about right now, and that's artificial intelligence. Oh my gosh, it is everywhere, and it is coming to construction like nobody's business. So we've been looking for experts in the field to come and talk to us about artificial intelligence and what it's going to mean to construction. I was lucky enough last year at the National Frame Builders Association to meet up with Kevin Fox with Foxwerx, and he is leading the industry in really how AI works, how it works with your marketing, your CRMs, and just overall. So we are going to learn a lot today. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Heidi. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
I am so excited to have you here and for us to visit. Let's start out with an introduction. If you could introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your company.
Sure. So, Kevin Fox, I started about 6 years ago. I started a full service advertising agency called Foxwerx, Foxwerx Group. And, that was on the heels of an almost 30-year career in the advertising marketing business. Wow. And in that space, my clients, I was working globally. So these were enterprise companies, big brands we all know. And it was incredibly exciting. And during that time, about midway through, in year 2000, I launched a .com. golfnation.com. And this was a business to business golf retailer exchange site. In the 2000s, everybody had a website, right? I mean, everybody was going for that gold rush. And it was incredibly exciting time. We built that and successfully exited that, and a great experience. And it always stuck with me. So while I remained in the advertising world, that was always my first love. Technology was always right there as well, right? I've always had this kind of two sides of the brain, marketing and technology. And when I started Foxwerx in 6 years ago, in 2019, I kind of merged those, right? I want to let's take a new approach to the traditional advertising and marketing agency, right? And so really worked on building systems and technology that we could leverage to allow me and my team to bring our years of experience and strategic rigor of brand building and growth, and but bring it with technology so we can bring it to more people. Right. So now you don't have to be a Fortune 100 or Fortune 500 company. We can work with more small, mid-sized businesses. And the most exciting part really is now working with local businesses. So now where, like when working in the contracting space is a great example. I'm meeting with folks who, we're helping their business, and, we're having a direct impact. I'm talking to the person whose family is being directly impacted by the growth they're experiencing due to our systems. Right. So it's a different feeling than, pleasing a room of board members who are sitting there kind of stone-faced. Again, it's just kind of rejuvenating, really. And so what's been exciting is getting in these different niches and understanding how we can bring technology to the fold to really kick off exponential growth. And, contracting space is a great example, and roofing and building space. So we have we've done so much in this space now where we have our own platform that has specific integrations for this space called Builderworks. And what's exciting, and here's the opportunity, regardless of how you approach it, this space is lagging behind, right? So your audience, if they can get on board, get comfortable with AI, get comfortable with leveraging AI to really magnify their presence, magnify their team's presence, they're going to have an unfair advantage for a while, but not for too long, because the word is getting out. More and more people are getting on the train. But it's incredibly exciting to see, how that transformation can happen. But anyway, I get excited. I get excited about it. So this was just my intro, but I think that's where our focus is now to where I'm really stepped aside from the traditional agency model, and I'm focusing most of my time on this new approach and now training. So one thing that we do, and I think when I ran into you, I was speaking at a conference. I do a lot of keynote speaking now, particularly on AI and business growth through business systems. And so that's been a really great experience and something that I'm continuing into this year. And so much so that we used to have a training portal that was reserved only for our clients, that now we're doing a new portal that we're offering up to folks who I'm just being introduced to through our speaking engagements, and that's free training. So we can get into that later, but as we kind of dig a little bit deeper here, that's the key, is understanding there's a lot to learn.
There
right?
is. And the thing I love what you just said in your introduction that I really want to point out is there is so much fulfillment in helping small businesses grow and helping them grow in a sustainable way that makes sense, that works for them. And so I love that. I love that part. And I want to talk a little bit more about that, but I kind of want to start first. And I would love to hear your big picture of what you're seeing with artificial intelligence or AI in construction. What are you seeing?
Well, so So I'll back up and say there's a lot of hype in the space, right? And you have a lot of these AI evangelists out there who are saying this and that. And I am certainly not an AI evangelist. I consider myself an AI pragmatist, right? What can we do with AI today? Now, we're deeply involved in the AI space. We have development contracts with all the leading AI tools. We have direct partnerships with them. So we're on the bleeding edge. We see where it's going, and it is exciting. But also, there's a lot of folks out there who make a lot of noise talking about how it's going to change this and that, and it's going to upend this and that. And really, they have their own motives for that, right? And so I think sometimes that can scare people off, right? And that's what my focus is. Like, I don't want, because I guarantee you the large enterprise organizations are not being scared off by it, okay? No. They're diving in, they're investing. And so what I don't want is for the small, the mid-sized groups to miss out on this huge opportunity. So in construction, it is lagging behind a little bit, but people are catching up. And what we're seeing is the kind of the easiest dip the toe in the water, right? So just to kind of start to get comfortable, is to really start to look at what are the things that are just taking time off of up in your schedule that you wish you didn't have to do, right? Or what are things that you do over and over the same way over and over again, right? Those are fantastic opportunities for AI automation. And so one thing I tell people is just to make a list of some of those things. And maybe it has something to do with invoicing or with estimating, or maybe it has, these are things that we can create. You can create business systems. You can create automated tools that will do this on your behalf. If you go a step above that, you can create an agent, which now actually functions as like an additional employee. But it all focuses on creating custom knowledge bases, basically a business brain for your business. And there is a particular way that you want to structure that and build that. But it all starts with a conversation just like this. You don't have to you don't have to worry about the implementation, just worry about what you want it to accomplish. So that's the first thing I always have people do is like, what are the things I want to get off my plate so I can focus on growing my business? Secondarily, and really, this is probably the easiest. This is probably easier to even kind of implement and comprehend right off the bat is lead capture, right? So a lot of folks in this space, they may be spending money, above the line money on paid ads or referrals, or maybe they're doing trade shows and they got some incoming calls. What we find is so often, particularly in this space, the call reception and then the follow-up isn't happening quickly enough. Right. So there is a direct correlation to how quickly you can, if a message is left, how quickly you can get back to that person will certainly have a great impact on how the likelihood of closing that, especially in a commoditized market. Right. Yeah. Speed to lead, 100%. Yeah. So Harvard Business Review did a fantastic study on that. And, it is something like an 80% increase. If you can get back to them in 5 minutes or less, you have an 80% increase of closing that business, particularly in commoditized market or a competitive market to where,
Mm-hmm.
all right, well, good job. You were at the top of the Google list, but I didn't get a hold of you. So I'm going down to number 2. Right.
Right. Right.
And so, that's critically important. So what people think is, well, we have a receptionist, but that receptionist, or that receptionist team, even they don't work 24/7. They don't work weekends, maybe. And if they're on another call, they can't be talking to this person. So if you're lucky, that lead leaves a message. We also know that most leads won't.
Right. Right.
But if they do leave a message, where's that voice message sitting? It's sitting in a voicemail box. And how quickly can we get back to that? So that's where, I'm bearing the lead here. That's where really this first kind of breakthrough happens, and is an AI voice receptionist.
Yes.
So imagine your receptionist is on a call, rather than going to voicemail where they may or may not leave a message and you may or may not get back to it quickly. It is answered by an AI voice receptionist, and a voice receptionist that has a personality that reflects your brand, that speaks your brand, that maybe includes your tagline in its greeting, really fits the molds that how you would train an employee, right? So they answer the call, and they're trained to capture lead information. So whatever lead information is pertinent to your business, all right, we want to make sure we get at the very least a first name and a phone number, right?
Right.
Or maybe in your business, I want an email and a full name, right? You train that, right? And then they will work to do that. So that's fantastic. And then once you have that, it now gets filtered into a connected CRM to where you can be kicking off automations. So maybe that lead is captured, then automatically when you get a new lead captured, send off our brochure, right?
Right.
Send out our promotional news that we have a promotion this month. So, send that to that phone number that we just received, right? So now you're already back to them, right? Immediately that you're back to them and adding value, right? You're not just calling back, hey, I see you called, right? But you've already provided value. So that's huge. And when I speak with folks, especially in this industry, they're like, well, we're really, we like a personal touch, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't want AI, a robot doing this we like human to human. And I agree. If you have a good team, and if they can answer that call, that's going to be better, right? Like that's great,
Right.
Human
Right.
touch. We don't want to, take that, position away. That's fantastic. But the fact is they don't work 24/7. And guess what? Your client, your potential lead just got off work and now you're not answering the phone. So having it be able to close that lead. And what I always say is like, well, how personal is a voicemail sitting in a box that doesn't get answered, right? That's not very personal either, right? So this is where we see, once we get over that hump of trying it out, we see that, wow, we have 24/7, doesn't take a day off, and it's capturing these leads. It's kicking off automations and sending full information. It's adding it to my CRM into a pipeline. And then once it's in the CRM, there's additional automations that can happen. Again, all done for you. Maybe it tags a sales rep for follow-up. Right? Maybe it sends a booking link to the potential lead, like, hey, book a call. Whatever your sales structure is and your sales methodology is, you can create those step-by-step instructions for it to do. And so it's incredibly beneficial. And then when you look at from the voice receptionist perspective, what's great is you not only get that lead handled, but you'll have a visual call transcript of that call and a call recording. So that's fantastic for a lot of reasons. One, that's additional data that we can train the AI on how best to handle interactions. And also it's good for you and your sales team, right? To be getting kind of a word cloud idea, again, from the marketing perspective, like what are those top concerns? What are the trending questions? What are the trending barriers or topic, right? So now we can start to address that, whether it be in our content on our website, whether we create content in the actual AI knowledge base to be able to answer it. Because, and I didn't touch on this, the other thing the AI can do, whether it's the voice receptionist or maybe it's a web chat on your website, it can answer questions, right? So the first thing that you can do is you can train this AI agent on all of your website. So it's going to learn your whole website and know everything about your company. even more importantly is you can train it on content that's not on the site. So there may be information you want the agent to know, but you don't necessarily want to be publicly out on your site. Maybe it's price ranges for different jobs, right? Maybe, there's other kind of standard operating procedures or some other things that maybe frequently asked questions that you would like it to have access to. You create a document, you put it into the knowledge base, and now that voice agent knows it, your web chat agent knows it, any of these, they're all vertically integrated. So they all share the same brain.
Right.
And so now they're actually providing value. They're not just, because, we've all been to a website that has an agent and it's like, hey, give me your name and we'll get back to you, right? Or, right. It's just taking, it's not giving anything.
Well,
right?
And I think one of the things that we need to really look at too, when you're talking about this, is that it's not either or, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's where people get really, in construction, sure. Whether it's roofing, it doesn't matter, across the board, that they're kind of thinking, well, do I need to have a full-time AI receptionist? Right. But no, you can really do that combination so that you're getting that personal. You're not going to, I can just already, Kevin, out there, imagine the contractors who are listening to this and are kind of cringing on, you're right. going to have my AI person get pricing out? Oh my gosh, right. Yeah. This is going to be the worst. So it's not, and it may come to that. 10 years from now, sure. we may be listening to this and laughing and going, of course they get pricing out. What are you talking about?
Oh, they do it now. You can do it now. It just comes down to your point. It's your tolerance. It's your comfort level because this is your employee, right? So just like you would train an employee to like, look, we never give pricing out on a call, right? Yeah. We wait till we get a full proposal and we know the whole scope, right? But some other company might say, yeah, we'll give estimates, we'll give price ranges.
Well, and we have software out there doing that right now, right? With they call it instant bids, where they get the measurements and they give them a price range. And then they have to talk to the salesperson to kind of figure out exactly, what's underneath that roof or what's underneath that siding or that coatings job.
Right. Yeah. And to your point, it's not either or. So one, it's not like, well, we have a voice receptionist and now that answers the phone all the time. No, again, this is something you can set up to work for your business. So, for example, if the line is clear and your front desk or your receptionist can answer, then they answer. But if the line is going to ring busy or go to voicemail or it's after hours, then there's a connection that throws it over to the voice receptionist, right? So you have that control to where you can only have it answer when you can, right? Like, or on a smaller operation, it's like, well, I'd love to answer the phone, but I'm actually on a roof right now.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So, there's a lot of use cases there, and you certainly can tailor it to what works for you. And we do find that hybrid approach is what works best. And what's great is, okay, it's just not some cool toy. What we're seeing is real business growth from this, right? So we're seeing in 90 days, we have a couple of case studies we're working through right now, but we have a 90-day transformation plan for a builder in Texas that didn't increase spend, didn't increase staff, didn't increase anything, but just added the voice receptionist and a web chat widget on their website, and their close rate went up 60%. Right. So when you're talking about conversion rate optimization, right. And this is someone who is running a lot of ads. So they're running a lot of ads. They were currently running ads to a website, which had a form to fill out. Well, there's a lot of form abandonment issues. And so we would see people, we would look at the traffic, we'd look at and we'd see them sometimes even start the form, but then abandon. Right. Well, we keep the form on there, but now you have your form that's connected directly to your CRM, and then you can kick off the automations. But also, if they are abandoning that form, as soon as they come on the website, now you have the web chat widget that can be answering their questions, that can be walking them through that and capturing the lead information. So we're getting on what we need from them, and yet they're getting value rather than wasting their time filling out a form, right? So that activity just increases greatly.
I wanted to work with a supplier partner I respect.
I wanted a partner who respected me.
We needed a partner with employees who care as much as we do.
We needed a partner who values relationships.
I wanted a partner that would help me grow my business.
We needed a partner that would help us succeed.
SRS Distribution delivers more than building products.
SRS delivers customer success.
Yeah, and it seems like chatbots are people like that, right? That's kind of that's been accepted.
Mhm.
And people, if they see a chatbot, they're like, oh, I'm going to ask a couple questions while I'm here. They don't even think about if it's who it is, AI, if it's a real person, nor do they care, right? They just want to get some answers quickly while they're there. So that is like a great way to think about that in steps, right? If you are advertising, you're driving people to a website, make sure that it has a chatbot and backed by AI. And that's one of my questions, Kevin, is there is so much, and you kind of mentioned this in your introduction, there's so many people out there going, we do AI. And it's kind of like, over the past years where people are like, we'll give you 100 leads, and so contractors become very cynical and they're like, we don't believe you. This isn't going to happen. So as you are talking, like that builder in Texas, as you are talking to contractors out there, how do they what is the starting point, and what are some of the questions they should be asking to vet people who are talking about providing these kind of services?
That's a good question. I think, and it's tough to answer. So, because there are a lot of folks out there shouting AI from the rooftops. And, the first thing that I would ask and understand is, what is beyond offering me a tool, AI, what's behind it, right? Is this person offering a strategy? So that's really important. A tool is a tool, right? Our roofers have hammers, but the hammer's not doing anything by itself, right? So you need to have the knowledge behind it, right? So you want to have industry knowledge, right? You want to have understanding of and a marketing understanding, right? You have to understand how not only does this tool work, but how does this tool work in my niche, and how do I do it to achieve these objectives, right? So, because really you're going to leverage AI very, very differently to capture leads and to increase conversion rate optimization. That strategy is going to be very different than using AI to, say, get your business found, right? Yeah. So, when we talk about using AI for SEO, or now what's even more important, AEO, which is that might be a whole other talk, because things are changing.
What's so funny is they're all calling it different things, right? You just said AEO. I was just on with somebody the other day that called it GEO for generative. And I'm like, okay, this is a whole new world and I just spoke yesterday to contractors on it. I said, this is all coming at you and it's going to come fast. And
what's interesting, and not only are the names not even locked down, the metrics aren't locked down, right? So OpenAI has launched its own browser, Atlas, and it's leveraging certain KPIs, certain terms and qualifications, right? So it's scoring really high on domain authority, quality backlinks, and citations, and like thought leadership type pieces, right? And video. Now Claude Anthropic is going to be having a browser that they rank on different things, right? So it's different from the days where we just need to please Google, and if we please Mother Google and which KPIs it's ranking for, we're happy. It's changing, and I would expect those KPIs will change more and more as things go. So it's not locked down. It is a little bit of the Wild West, but there are things that are true across the board. I mean, we're jumping a little bit now to using AI to help with AEO and GEO. But like one thing that's really important, and this regardless of who's doing the search and through what platform, and this has to do with your primary asset, your website, right? So I can't tell you how often that we will do an audit on someone's website and they don't have H1 tags, which are tags to show the search engines like what content's important, for example, or they don't have meta descriptions. They don't have schema markup, right? These aren't things that your listeners need to know necessarily what they are or how to fix, but they should know enough, to your point about what questions to ask, like, can you look at my site and make sure that this stuff is addressed? Because that's how these tools are looking at your site. They're not looking at it from the front page, right? They're not looking at it the way we look at it. They look at it from behind the scenes, like the the grid, the framework. And that's why it needs to be tagged appropriately and have meta descriptions and those things. So you can use AI tools to do that as well, to help scan your website, make those make recommendations of changes for you. And a lot of times, those are very inexpensive to do that as part of a larger system.
One of the things that I think is, you just bring this up, which really makes me think, is that a number of years ago, when, as everybody was like SEO, we would get all these articles that would honestly not make sense because they were just trying to throw as many keywords into it as they possibly could. And we at the coffee shops made a very conscious decision that we are going to do strong content with a strong message. If some keywords fit into that, great. If they don't, we're not going to change that around. We're going to be very authentic and very real and pertinent. And what we have found, and it's been really interesting, is that philosophy, although we had no idea, is actually working great. It was right. Yep. And we are now having huge amounts of AI searches on our site, and it's very authentic and it's very real information. But I want to,
I just want to before you jump on, like you definitely went the right approach there, because, and again, this ties back to your earlier question about there's lots of people who can do lots of things, but if you contacted with an SEO specific agency, there's fantastic ones out there who are wonderful. And there's ones who are always looking for the quick fix, right? And they want to share a quick fix. And quite frankly, good SEO is not a quick fix. So if they're selling a magic pill, then it's probably not, we know how magic pills normally work out. You went the diet and exercise route. Right? Maybe not as fun, maybe not as quick, but has longer term results and better results. And the fact is, when you chase the trends, every time, especially with Google and the search engines, every time there's an update, right? Well, that stuff you just spent a bunch of time doing because it was the hot new thing to do. Well, maybe that doesn't rank anymore, right? But you know what? What will always rank is thinking about your audience first. Right? So from a content perspective, make sure that you're just making content that resonates with your audience. Don't get caught up on word count. Certainly don't keyword stuff. But if it's helpful content, and that was the most recent Google update, right? Was that the helpful content and that update, and it really focused on that. So make sure that you're doing that, and you're gonna get the right results. Now, you can amplify those results by making sure that you're leveraging other tools and ranking factors. Like, hey, video is huge. That's a separate ranking factor. Right. Audio is huge. Thought leadership that's cited is huge. So making sure that you're aware of that landscape is important. And again, but you have the foundations in place. So like, okay, well, we have all this great content on a website that Google can't find because it's not tagged properly, right? So make sure that you have your schema and your tags and your H1, because it doesn't matter how great that content is if the back end isn't working, right?
Exactly. Okay, this has been so interesting, Kevin. So much great information. So I want to, in the last few minutes of this podcast, Contractor Outlook Newscast, I want to talk a little bit about ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, whichever program you're using, because I think, when we talk about how contractors have entered the AI space, I agree with you 100%. I think the first, toe in the water was using ChatGPT and seeing what that could do for their business, helping them write job descriptions and doing all that. The second one is 100%, and I've been talking to so many people, call centers, receptionists, how is that kind of going to be that whole sales part of it? But I think for so many contractors, they're still at that first stage, right? We're getting into ChatGPT, we're getting into Claude, or Perplexity, whatever it may be. What are some of the key points that contractors should know about their privacy, about protecting their information, and all of that as they're starting to use this more?
Yeah, it's a great question, and one that I always address every time I'm giving a keynote, because the last thing I would ever want to do is get out there and get people excited about using these tools, and then they use them in a way that is detrimental to them or their business, right? So it's critically important. So, in general, you can play around and start to understand and learn how any of these tools, right? I'm going to say ChatGPT now for simplicity's sake, but it really doesn't matter whether you're ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude. You can play around with the free versions. understand how they work and understand how the different ones work. Quite frankly, I'd recommend, if you haven't shared links to all of them, maybe share them in this chat, but like, so they can see the different versions that they can play with, because they all do work differently and they have different strengths. But as you're just asking questions, maybe you're asking questions about, oh boy, my daughter she's waking up 3 times a night, and I've tried everything. I can't fix it, and help, maybe you walk through that with ChatGPT, right? You're not sharing personal information, but you're looking for like just knowledge, right? Because it has access to all this knowledge. Now, when you get to the point of, or like, I've got these ingredients in my refrigerator, or what's something cool I can make with it? That's a fun, easy thing to do.
Yeah, that's fun.
Now, when you start talking about your business or personal information as a percentage to yourself or your business, you don't want to do that on the free plan. Now, according to terms of service, it should be quote safe, but I would never do that, particularly with any business information. So anytime you start, because there's real power in it, right? So you're going to get excited once you understand it, and like, wow, I can upload a CSV document of my last 20 jobs and then interact with that CSV document like it's my accountant and ask it questions and they can answer for me. That's cool. And I don't have to go through all these tabs. That's cool. They'll sign me up. Well, that's now your business information. It may have your customers' addresses or phone numbers or emails in it. You don't want to be doing that on free plans. So get on like a $20 a month plan is what they normally are about that. That's what the ChatGPT Plus is. And at that point, you now are, you have the flexibility to like know that your information isn't going to be used. It's not going to be shared. It's not going to be used to train the LLMs in the future. And there is an area where you can go in and specifically opt out of that. It's called I think it's the personalized section. There's a little check mark, and you want to click that and just make sure that you've opted out of that any of your data being used for training, and you're going to be in a good place.
I did that exactly, and I do use ChatGPT. I've had some people say, "Oh, you need to move to the other ones," and I probably will do some exploration. ChatGPT has really, it really is a tool, but it needs to be treated like that, and so that's where I'd like to kind of end all of this is. Just in people's minds, really understanding that AI is a tool and not something that's going to take over. It can't do everything for you. And you still have to have that free thought, and you have to be able to think and give that creativity in order for it to really work.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly. And it is learning how to use that tool is a skill unto itself, right? Understanding how best to prompt it. This is an area that we cover a lot of times in keynotes as well, is while they're getting smarter each time, and you can speak to them even more conversationally than ever before and get really good results. But I'll tell you, if you just ask any of these LLMs, like ask a question about like, hey, can you write this is my business name. We do this type of stuff. Here's our website. Put that in there. Write a LinkedIn post. Write a Facebook post for me to raise awareness, right? And you'll get something in, if you don't know better, you might say, hey, that's pretty good. Right. But if you follow some stringent prompting structures, some best practices, you can make that in 100 times better, even on that first output. Right. And it's, for starting, like trying to give it a frame of reference, giving it a skill, giving it a job to do. You're acting as a seasoned social media manager, right? Give it that context. And then you write out, specifically what you want. You write out specifically how you want it delivered. I want 3 paragraphs with 2 bullets, and I want a chart that highlights blank, right? So you really want to be thinking as a director, right? Like you don't have to be the writing, but you want to have an idea of what you have in mind. Now, some people have that muscle, some people don't, but you can develop it. And often, sometimes you need to see the first one to really know what it didn't give you, right? But then now prompt and give it those guardrails. I say it all the time, but I love it. Robert Frost, the poet, he said, free verse poetry is like playing tennis without a net. Right? Like, okay, I can just knock it back and forth all day because there's no guardrails, there's no box. Right. In any creative endeavor, the box is incredibly important. And when you think about these LLMs, they need a box to work within because they have access to pretty much all of information of humanity, right? So you need to give it a target to aim for. So give it that box, give it the net, give it the boundary lines, and you're going to find that playing tennis with your LLM's a lot more fun.
Yeah. And I'm going to say right here, check your sources there, and I've actually have said, show me your sources. Yep. I go to those websites. I look at the websites. I determine that it's real or it's not a good source or whatever. So
100%. You want to do that every time. If you show your sources, provide citations is another good ask. But don't assume just because it sounds good and sounds smart that it is smart. At the end of the day, these LLMs are nothing more than word calculators. Yeah. That's how you need to think about them. People think that they're this way to think about it. It's not thinking, even though when it's taking time, it's not thinking. Yeah, it doesn't think. Okay. It's a word calculator. All it's doing is based on the word it just wrote, it's adding the probability of what the next word should be. That's really all it is. And we've had these actually for a while, but it was back in the day, it was called machine learning. What the change was now that they're called LLMs is because there's this large language model wrapped around it. So now it's just easier to interact with it. And so it seems like it's thinking or it's a person, but that's kind of an illusion, right? Yeah. So if you keep that in mind, that you need to, just because it sounds smart doesn't mean it is. And please check the sources, provide citations, all of those things.
Make sure you're doing it. Well, Kevin, great information, great tips. I so appreciate you. Thank you so much for being on this Contractor Outlook Newscast.
Sure. It was great to be here. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody. This is great stuff. Please check out all of the Contractor Outlook Newscasts. This is the kind of information we're bringing you from outside the industry, inside the industry, really looking at the thought leadership and what is happening out there that you need to know for your business. So please check it all out and be sure to subscribe to all of our podcasts and set those notifications so you don't miss a single episode. We'll be seeing you next time on Contractor Outlook Newscast.